Good morning, all. You can see me probably, and you can hear me, I'm sure. I'll make sure to speak up nice and loud so that you can hear what I'm saying for week 12. You'll see there's a little hidden here. You can't see this at the moment, but when I release it, obviously, you will be able to. And we're going to get right into it. We're not meeting this week face to face, or not face to face, synchronously, because we've got lots going on, and we're going to enjoy this week with our family, so that's all good. But I wanted to leave you this little video to walk you through some of the elements in the week 12 folder, as well as just run through a PowerPoint slide with you all. So let's get into it. You'll have an overview and a checklist. The overview is pretty direct. It talks about what's expected for the module. We're talking about building out our processes here. It should actually be instructional development. It is a design process still, but really we should be talking about development. All right? Because that's what we're doing. We're building out the physical features, the physical materials, physical and digital materials for our lesson. EdTech Smorgasbord, instructional material. We're actually going to skip the EdTech Smorgasbord, but I have some resources for you that I think you'll find really valuable in the form of examples. Okay, and I'll walk you through those at the end. And then instructional material lecture video, that's what I'm going to be talking about. And then I will review the project number 5 material. In fact, how about let's do this. Let's fix this right now. Let's do number 3. Everybody wants to see examples. All right, so let's get into it. Let's not delay. Here, the next thing is a checklist, which basically says the two things that I said. We're going to go through the PowerPoint, and then project number 5. Just keep working on that. It's due next week, right? So if you press this, it'll show you the current video. This is one from last year, and then this will be the PowerPoint, which is right here. It's a Google slide, and then that is the project itself, and this will be the student examples for you. All right, so let's dive right in here. Okay, so the development of the instructional materials. We know that this is the lesson. Usually, when we're teachers and educators, we just build the lesson. We don't think about it from a design perspective. We just build what we need. Duh, makes a lot of sense. Like, I need a lesson. I have to have a process to get my students through. But now, when we're thinking about it from a design perspective, we have much more flexibility in how we think about building those materials out. For example, they can take the form of PowerPoints. Sure. Okay, and that's something that we're pretty familiar with. They can take the form of videos and just be exclusively videos. Okay, they can take the form of PDFs, worksheets. Okay, they can take the form of a textbook. And then they can take the form of all these different combinations of multimedia use, text, and the like. Right? Because now we have these content management systems or learning management systems that we can now upload all types of digital media to their platforms. We can do video, we can do audio, we can do digital worksheets, we can do surveys, right? We can add all these different elements into our lesson and hold it in one location, which would be a learning management system or a website even as well. So now this idea of instructional materials or development becomes really, really, really broad and really wide ranging and very large. This is the reason why I had you do the prototype. The prototype helps to focus your energy on a single product that can work and get the job done. Because there's so much diversity, there's so many options, you can get lost. And so a rapid prototype helps to focus your energy and get something up and running that you can build upon. The majority of you have already started that with this current project where we are, where you just built something real quick. Okay? That's great. And now it's time to formalize that. It's not going to be a finished product. At least it's going to be a start. Okay? So here is a really great video. And of course I'm going to say it's great. You probably don't have sound, but I'm just going to play it. And as it plays, I'll talk you through it. But you will have sound on your end. I'm actually going to mute it. And so this is my son doing this Lego piece. He had a project and he wanted to build Legos to show his STEM kind of readiness, I think it was. And so at that moment in time, he was capable of putting together the entire Lego sets by himself. When I mean by himself, I mean I held the video and I kind of pointed him in the right direction a bit, but quite literally he was able to put these pieces together by himself. And yeah, there's some functionality on the back end where he's been building with gears and magic tiles and Hot Wheel sets and Legos since he was 2 and 3. We've been doing that. And so by 5, he was really able to kind of do this really unique thing by himself, this performance, right? Well, there was really, 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 really good learning design by Lego that helped to support his ability to do that. Okay, on the right you see a really great design of easy to learn and understand pictures with the pieces and really great step-by-step directions without a lot of noise. Okay, it's very simplistic. Alright, and yeah, I've trained him up a bit, but this is something that can be done by young children because of the extraordinary design and learning design that's on the back end. Okay, now, obviously have huge teams. We've got a lot of brilliant thinkers that help to build this, but nonetheless, it can achieve some really amazing things, right? When done well, when done right, proper. So, instructional design model. This is us. This is where we are. This is what we do. We use ADDIE. It's Dick and Carey's model. The book that we're using is Allie's ID4T, which was built off of Dick and Carey's model, and Hodel's ISD, which was built off of the same model. We're using the same model. So the design and development phases are coming together, and within them we're revising. We are refining. We are just getting better at the process of building functional tools to help our learners overcome the actual to optimal situation, learning situation. Alright, so yours, instructional materials will include, like I said, all of these things. Assessments are going to vary. Checklists are very common, especially for adults and adult learning. And then you got course management, which how you're going to score it, how you're going to keep it, how you're going to retain it, how you're going to measure success, those types of things. All right. So lots of delivery options for you. If you have not thought of some, here are a few. You can certainly use What used to be was one of the only video um, conferencing platforms, which was Skype, but obviously there are many others now, right? And you've got Brain Pop, and you've got Jing as videos, Tagxedo, Wordles, Wix, Weebly's, Khan Academy. I use Khan Academy quite often. Discovery Education, I use that very often. Prezzies, I use very often. And many others. Okay, so we've got design, develop, deliver, the 3Ds. Usually when we do this, we have a team, and the team consists of these different individual parts. Now, I know you K-12 teachers are like, I'm all of those. Yeah, I get it. We understand that you're all of these things. But ideally, when we go to corporate, and ideally, even if we have a situation where K-12 will adopt an instructional design mindset, we would have these individuals or departments kind of working through these different elements. Basically, these are the different things that we need to consider as we actually develop a product. That's all. You need a manager, someone that's going to organize and manage the thing. You need an instructional designer, you guys. An instructional developer, and sometimes we play the manager role. A developer, someone that can actually pull these ideas together and craft them, whether it be coding, hard coding, or soft coding with a website, WYSIWYG, or something of that nature. So we need an administrative assistant, probably, a multimedia graphic artist, a multimedia programmer, probably, an instructional editor. This is the ideal situation of a team that you would have as a corporate instructional designer, and even if you were building for K-12 systems, right? Like being hired by Lego, right? You guys can be hired by Lego because they need instructional designers crafting and creating new generations of materials with their flagship product, the Lego. Alright, so this is the design team, the multimedia team, the design team. These are all the people and personnel within them. This is the ideal situation. But as we know, even out in the field, you may not get ideal. A lot of these people will share a lot of these hats. But these are kind of the different components that kind of are made up in the instructional design team. Alright? Now, this is me being real because the reality is it's not that clean. The reality is it gets messy. The reality is that you're probably not solving well-designed problems. You're solving what's called ill-structured problems. You're solving what some in the design world called wicked problems. They're problems that haven't been solved before. And as a result, it gets messy. So you got to get comfortable in being uncomfortable. But ideally, you'd have a team that can help you navigate through it. Now, again, for my D4T people, your team consists of your department and your department heads and your colleagues and your administration. Okay, so that's your team. And we've got to work within that. Understand who the bosses are, what the pressures are, what the needs are. And students too. Students can be your team because they can advocate for you and advocate for what they need. Okay. This is the ISD team. Now, when we have a project, it will incur some costs. Generally speaking, the traditional education system will provide the offset of those costs, which have formally and traditionally been in the form of paper textbooks, copy paper. That's why they invested in a printer, scanner, those types of things. Now, they're starting to get more sophisticated at the K-12 sector, and I'll talk about adult learning in 1 second, guys, so hold on. Now, we've got more sophisticated, and we have these one-to-one things where there's a computer now in the mix, and there's digital now. Well, what that does is it adds a whole nother layer of complexity, because now you need multimedia professionals, because you cannot craft and be expected to be a graphic designer, an audiographer, audiographer, I don't know if you say that, an audio specialist, a webmaster, and what's the other one? Oh, like a professional writer at the same time. That becomes really taxing to wear all those hats. So costs can run up. You can outsource it, and as the size gets larger and you go to scale, right? If your product is going to scale, then it's going to cost more, right? So then there's instructors too that have a cost. There's some break-even point. This is the mathematics of it, where we say there's a standalone print-based thing, and then there's this opportunity to go a little bit more advanced. And at some point there's a break-even point, which we calculate as a professional instructional designer, so that there's benefit for the instructor and the learner. So there's a cost-benefit ratio, right? That's what we're talking about. This is the business side of it. Adult learners, this is the business side of it. This is important to understand, because as a professional instructional designer, you need to understand the cost-benefit of your time and the materials, where it's going to reach that critical point. And that is my munchkin coming in. Thank you. You know Daddy's on a call right now, right?
I cut it all out.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to post it right here. But you got to keep that door closed, all right? But you got to come over here and say hi to the peoples now. You get a little treat. You got to say hi. Right there. You see?
Hi.
You're on camera. All right. I got to finish up here, okay? Now you got to close that door. Thank you. Doors don't mean jack squat. And he didn't even close it. Okay, great. So, scaling up instructor-led courses also has logistical costs, but personnel are the main costs, right? Of course, people cost the most. So, obviously, that's why you're hard pressed at getting the people you need, right? And so you have to wear all these hats and stuff. So that's calculating the cost-benefit ratio. So we have to select the materials, and so we have to consider the free materials that are accessible, and this is why you see all of my stuff on Google, because Google's free 99. So you see a lot of stuff on Google because it's free, but it's also got the flexibility that I can make changes on the back end, and they're live documents that you can mold and adapt as needed, which is great because you can evolve just like people. So it's really good stuff. So there's content, goal-centered criteria, congruent. Make sure we have alignment with the objectives, the adequate and complete. It has to be adequate and complete. The authority, the accuracy, the currency, meaning it's up to date, it's modern, and the objectivity, meaning you're hitting the objectives. That's what that means with objectivity. Okay, objectivity is also a term for neutral, so that it's scalable. Because if it's too isolated and it's too customized, then it's not usable by the people. That's what we're talking about. Learner-centered, we want it to be able to scale. So learner-centered obviously needs to be of the day. It needs to be centered with young people. This is why, if you're paying attention really closely, pay attention. Disney, for example, is off the charts, right? We say Disney and we know it's a behemoth. Well, how did it get there? Learner-centered media. They targeted their learners and they made them the center of the stories and made them the center of the experiences. They targeted young people, and they became the storytellers. They became the heroes, right? Not the parents. Think about what happened with PBS, or rather Sesame Street. I remember Sesame Street being Big Bird. Big Bird was on fire, right? It was just Big Bird, Big Bird, Big Bird. Well, Big Bird represented the teacher. Do you remember when it switched over to Elmo? Somewhere in the 90s, mid-90s, it switched over. And when it did that, they saw their viewership rocket because they targeted the audience, and the young people wanted to see themselves as the main characters. So, if we can figure out how to do that, that's going to be the best bet for you to improve motivation and interest. Okay. All right. So, a series of informed, successive approximations of proportions of the module through design and development. That's what the RID is all about, and I'm pretty sure you've done it. And what's really interesting is whatever you actually create, it's actually going to be an RID. So the first time you create it, it's just an RID anyway. So the best thing to do is try to get it up and running as soon as possible, which many of you have actually done. The reason I have that picture there is because those FANG companies, the FANG, Facebook, Apple, I think there's another N that's missing there, and Google. All these companies started off with really strong MVPs, what's called MVPs, minimal viable products. Minimal viable products. That's another fancy word for RID. And what they did was they scaled up from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, blah, 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 like that, right? Because they knew it worked at 2. If it worked for 2, then we tweak it and we move forward. We tweak it and move forward. We tweak it and move forward. We tweak it and move forward. And the rapid successions that you get allow you to scale up. They just did it with technology, and that's why it exploded. And these companies are massive because that formula AB beta, AB beta, AB beta works. And that's what RID is all about. So it works. We know it does. All right? That's fancy. That's what it is. Okay, good. Media selections cost money. We just talked about that. We need to understand whatever we said before, which is the cost benefit. But what we can do, right? Some people aren't great at video. Some people aren't great at PowerPoint. So you have to do what you do. And that's why we have this term called TPAC, right? TPAC, technological, pedagogical, content knowledge. Your technological skills, your pedagogical skills, your content knowledge. This is why in this course it feels a little different. Because number one, I'm different. I just think about teaching and learning in a different way. But more importantly, you are different. All of you are different. And the permutations and combinations, if you want to do math, because I'm a math teacher, right? Permutations and combinations, if I were just to do just one of those concepts, let's say, the different types of arrangements of how you can design something based on the 3 factors that we continue to talk about, right? Let's say technological, pedagogical, content. Let's say those 3, right? Just to keep things easy. What technologies can you use? A jillion. What pedagogy can you use? A jillion. What content knowledge are we dealing with? All of the content knowledge. All 3 of those things come from you. They don't come from me. They come from you and your skills sets and your professionalism. So because they come from you, we have to create different, like a Rubik's Cube, combinations of technology, pedagogy that you're comfortable with, and then content knowledge that you reside in. And then the combination of those creates and crafts the type of instruction that you're going to deliver. Okay? And you guys have been doing a fantastic job of reaching out to me and saying, hey, I need help with this, 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 and this, because individually it's much more conducive that I can help. And that's where this comes in, because whether you're using a website or an online environment or a video or mixed methods, that's going to come from you. You're going to decide on that, what you're comfortable with, and then you're going to execute based on that. All right, that's just some stuff. We would do this. This is the smorgasbord. Just think about it. I was in 2016. I arranged this panel, and that was a panel of CEOs, all the way from Daiquiri to I think iWire. This one's Discover Education. This one's Filament Games, and this one I think is like Adobe. All executives. I put that together, and we had a discussion about the technology being used and how they thought about technology in the classroom. And this was an exercise that we would have done, but I just want you to think it's a thought exercise. How do your students use the technologies or the tools at home? The ones that you're proposing or thinking about. How does this tool impact the instruction? It's really great to use NerdPod. It's really a cool, fancy little tool, right? But if it doesn't serve the instruction that you're trying to accomplish, then it's useless. It's like this resounding gong. It's a waste. So you have to think about how it's going to serve the instruction. And then number 3, what do you believe this tool can help, or why? Why do you believe this tool can help solve your instructional problem? Because that's the end of the day. That's the goal, right? That's the goal at the end of the day. I could take a cross-country trip. I just took one. It's really cool. I could have put money into a motorcycle, like maybe rent a motorcycle or something like that, right? I don't know. But would that have served the other 6 people that were traveling with me? It's a great tool. It'll get me from here to there. It's cost efficient, but it doesn't serve the other 6 people. So we had to go with an RV because it served and solved the problem of going cross country 4 states safely in one unit. Cost efficient. Okay, here's just an example of that exercise, all right, that I did previously some time ago. It was successful to think about it, so you can just do that, just thought exercise on your own, okay? And you have some examples here. Then, boom, boom, okay, great. Generic lesson blueprint, you've already done this. We have to remember to talk about arcs and our objectives. All right, we're going to build out this thing. And this is me saying that the learner participation gives us information to help us improve our process. This is really what this is saying right here. All right. So here's how we go from project 4 to 3, 4 to 5. This is how we go from 4 to 5, and I think I'm at the end here. Yep. Okay. This is how we go from 4 to 5. So in 4, you had all this stuff. And in general, when we create a design, it's internal. It's used by us. You know, the other people, they don't really see it. The ARC's motivation may come over. They should. And it's just not just ARCs, it's also CAPS. But that comes over into project 5. Examples, meaning, when I say examples, I mean your outline and your pictures and images and things like that. Those will come over just into that document. You should actually have the physical environment somewhere, whether it's a website or Weebly, Wix, Google Sites, or if it's PowerPoints, I want to see them. And even if it's paper, right? PDF for my ISD people. If it's PDF, I want to see the PDFs. The communication tools will come over. The job aids, the rubrics, the test, and rating scales. We have mapped the rubrics out previously. They should be full. We should see the fullest version of the rubrics now. We should see the fullest version of the quizzes now. The fullest version of the tests now. All that now. All right, because it's instructional development. So we actually want to see the instruction. So that's how we move from one to the other. All right, and this is just an outline, and this is just a review, just in general thoughts, kind of at the end. These are my closing thoughts. Your module can never be perfect. Time and cost will be too high. Be ready to hear negative comments about your baby. You can always make it better. So kind of seek out constructive feedback. Okay. All comments are not necessarily commands, just recommendations. So you can listen and then later deliberate on whether it meets your goals or not, because you're going to get a lot of feedback. People are going to say a lot of stuff. People still saying stuff about me all the time. And some of it I keep, some of it I mold, some of it I change up a little bit. But also at the end of the day, it's not going to make 100% of the people happy. But it has to function for you at the end of the day. So let's do that. Okay, so we're moving on. And the next thing we're moving to is the development here. The document. You're going to get a copy. I'm just going to quickly go over it. It's pretty self-explanatory. That's why I go quickly over it. And you can also, rewind this and see this portion. We're at 31 minutes. So now we do a summary of the learner needs and the context needs. We do the goals and objectives. We do the lessons and the clustering. And then we do the instructional materials. Okay, now that's the report. The report is simply the communication between you and me that says, I know what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Okay, it's a plan. Okay, it's the plan. And obviously the instructional material is the instructional material. So focus on that. This document, it should not be long and exhaustive. It really should be copy-paste, but it should be improved. Copy, paste, improve. Copy, paste, improve. Okay, copy, paste, improve. I'll say it again. And then the instructional material is really where you're spending your energy. Okay. You know my methods by now. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So what you really want to see is some examples. This is one for my ISD people, but it's also really good for the ID4T people. An AECT member, his name is David Wiley. He developed this from the ground up. This is his baby. He's been working on this for some time. He just recently, 2 years ago, I would say, left academia to continue this. This is what's called OER. It's Open Education Resources. They're all free. They're all accessible. He's got many tracks, many courses that you can take. And quite impressive list. So I just want to show you one or two. We'll search the catalog just so you can see what really good design looks like. I'm gonna be, I don't know if I have any math people. Yeah, we have a couple math people. Yeah, let me be a little bit biased. See, biased, of course, right? I'm being honest with you. At least I'm biased. I picked my math. Why? Because I have math background. You don't like it? So what? We have to understand and recognize that we have biases. We are not neutral. We are not net neutral. We can't be net neutral. We weren't born that way. We weren't built that way. We weren't designed that way. And that's why we have so many problems, because we don't acknowledge that and then create the appropriate boundaries and structures to address it. Another conversation for another day. But this is amazing design. And so this is the beginning of algebra. He has a little outline, or she, let's say she. James Sosa, so it's actually he. Developed this additional course features, online homework, and a manager, accessibility. It's 100% committed to accessibility, and this is what people are saying. It's awesome, it's awesome, it's awesome, right? And then you have a little disclaimer and all that other jazz. But let's get into the course content. Okay. I agree. Licensed services. I'm going to just move on. Okay, so bangity bang, bang. Here we go. Beginning algebra. We start with that. Let me just pop that out here. Let's see what he's got. Okay, about the course. Great outline, table of contents, looking tight. Looking tight. Alright. Start with number 1. Inequalities. Boom. Lesson. Yeah, take that, Khan Academy. Pretty cool. Alright. Sweet outline, great intro. Imagery, great. Equations, great. Alright. Let's talk about alcohol. It must be for adults. So, quite interesting content. And then we go next. Learning outcomes, equations, working with expressions, walking through, great design, very clean. Notice how there are consistent headers, video, examples, show solutions to examples, worked problems, so forth, 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 yada, 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 etc., all the way down the page. Then I hit the next one. All right, learning outcomes, very clean, very clear. Then I get right into it, right? Great format, great design. All these things are a star. Okay, they're star. Okay, so it's great stuff. Okay, this is the guide. This is the outline. So when we talk about the design, project 4, right? Project 4. This is functional. This is project 4. It's the outline. It's the plan. This is what they're going to do. Boomity boom, boom, boom. All right. Module 1, review. Look, this is the plan. This is the learning design. It's clean. Look how clean that is. This is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to learn. They're going to do pre-tests and tutorials and links and and outcomes and detailed spreadsheet of outcomes and faculty resources, and the list goes on and on and on, right? It's amazing. This is project 4, and it's amazing. Great management system. Then, what's this? The actual learning material. What's this? Project number 5. Project number 5, y'all. There it is. Online, accessible, scalable, dope, multimedia. Multimedia all over the place. Okay, there you go. That's one example. Now, this is both. This is ID4T in here, and there is ISD stuff. Like, this is ISD stuff right here. All right. This one is fractions. This one's dividing fractions again. Someone wanted to do that. Literacy. Let's go to literacy. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Someone did a really great job here. Elizabeth. Boom. Look at those standards hitting us in the face. Pow. Right? Right away. Actuals and optimals. Clean. Alignment. Clean. Learning path. Outline. Very nice. And then the website there. If you want to check the website out, go ahead. Okay? Not very long, but very, very clean, very informative. Project 5. And then if you go to the website, which I'd encourage you to do, here. It's beautiful. Right? It's a great website. Background info, bang, standards in your face, actuals and optimals. Alright, screenshots. It's very nice. And then day 1, day 2, day 3, very, very succinct. Headers are the same. Pretty good design because she leaned on Google Sites. Templates. Just followed it. Okay? So, examples all over the place for you. Access all over the place for you. You guys are going to rock and roll. I am in under 45 minutes, I'm hoping. Yes, I'm under 40 minutes. Sweet. Okay. It's a 40-minute video for you. Go back and forth through it. And if you have questions, I'll be available Monday and Tuesday. Okay? Peace and chicken grease, y'all.